again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Game Pass Grab Bag Side Quest episode. I lost my train of thought there. Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Game Pass Grab Bag Side Quest, your weekly podcast reviewing games from the Game Pass collection, and in this case, some free-to-play games. I am the Iron Man of this episode, Andrew. With me are Luna Snow, Aaron,
Hello.
and our invisible woman, Keith. He's not here yet, so that's what he's getting. He's taking his sweet time. So me and Aaron decided to start recording early. But yes, we played Marvel Rivals. And yes, before people get up at us, yes, it's not on Game Pass, but it's a free to play game. And we've been playing a lot of it. And we were kind of like, oh man, we really need to cover a game this week. Well, let's just cover this. It's either this or nothing. So everyone has access to this. So we figured people would at least want to hear our thoughts on Marvel Rivals. But before we get into the episode, just some quick housekeeping. Make sure you join us on our Discord or our YouTube or Facebook, our X. We live stream these, so we love to have people come join us, talk to us. I'll have the link tree in the description. Just click on it. You can find the links to all of our stuff, to all our different channels, to whatever you prefer to watch us on or listen to us. Greatly appreciate it. But yeah, check it out because we always love having you guys on there. But yes, so we played Marvel Rivals by NetEase, which is kind of gross. It's from NetEase, but Marvel Rivals is, of course, a third-person 6v6 hero shooter, very similar in the vein of Overwatch, where you are playing various rivals. I'm just kidding. You're actually playing various Marvel heroes or villains as they basically do hero shooter objectives, as very much like Overwatch. So you got your typical domination game modes, convoy push modes, and some team deathmatch modes. But yeah, Aaron. So and when Keith gets here, we're first going to say we are all big Overwatch fans, or I should say, were. I don't know how you feel about Overwatch right now, Aaron.
I mean, I'll still pull it up from time to time, but in its current state, it's pretty awful. It's pretty awful. But a lot of us, like dating back to 2016 when the original Overwatch came out, we have a text group that we exist in that literally started because of Overwatch. Like that's how much Overwatch is kind of meant to us.
I know that text group is still going strong after all these years.
It's still going strong. Not a whole lot of gaming happening on there anymore, but there was a time when it was almost every night around 7:00. There would be at least 4, if not 5 of us on there playing.
Yeah.
Overwatch.
We could never get that sixth number.
No, and I remember. Well, then eventually, they didn't have 6; they had 5.
Yeah.
But we played a ludicrous amount of hours on that game, and that was even before the ranked mode came out. And then I think once ranked came out, it just kind of like upped it up to a new level. Yeah, so that 2016, 2017, around that 2018, maybe around those 3 years was probably dominated by just Overwatch.
Which is crazy to think about because Overwatch, when it first came out, was a paid game.
Yeah,
and
$60.
You can't do that anymore. Like, games keep trying to do a paid. Like, anytime of these hero shooter multiplayer games, like most recent was Concord, and that just burns. Like, you got to go free to play. And so, surprisingly, here comes Marvel Rivals.
Here's a great question. And I like how we even started talking about Marvel Rivals. But
I know.
The hero shooter space is kind of fascinating to me because Overwatch came onto the scene in 2016 and it was Game of the Year. Won awards left and right. Like it completely redefined a multiplayer genre at that point. And again, it was a $60 game when it came out, but it felt completely worth it.
Now, a lot of people. It was like 50.
It was maybe 50, maybe 40 or 60. Maybe it was 40. It was something funky like that. But here, like what's funny is let's fast forward to 2024 and Concord comes out. There's a lot of people that said that even if Concord was free,
it was $40.
Okay, even if Concord was free, people still wouldn't have played it.
Yeah, people didn't play the beta.
So, and there's been other hero shooters that existed. Why? Why is Marvel Rivals winning right now? Why is Marvel Rivals dominating right now?
This is kind of what I wanted to do this episode. I wanted to have a discussion on this.
I I don't know how to describe it. Like if I were to go fire up, which I don't mind playing Paladins, another free to play hero shooter,
Yeah.
by the guys who make Smite. Now, I could fire that up and I might have a little bit of fun, but it does not. What?
Oh, I just realized, Aaron, your microphone's a little. I just realized your microphone. I'm pretty sure is off your webcam and not your actual.
Oh, is
mic.
it?
Yes.
Why? Why? Oh, you're right. How did that happen?
I don't know. It's because you replugged your mic in.
But I can't switch mics. You're right. It's because I unplugged my mic so you could hear me. Oh no. Well, what do you want me to do?
You can't redo it.
It says on Riverside that I can't switch. I can mute, but I can't switch. Let's see. Yeah, it won't let me switch. Do you want me to just leave?
Yeah, see if you can rejoin. Now I'm gonna have to redo this whole thing. I just realized this microphone was terrible.
Am I good?
Yeah, there you are.
Yeah. You know what happened? You want to know what happened?
What?
My mute button was pressed down. I must have pushed it when I. That was the problem the entire time. Well,
But yeah, you were talking about Paladins, which I forgot about that game. I loved Paladins.
okay. So Paladins was good. It was good, but it didn't hook you. It didn't. It doesn't have the same type of addictive qualities that Overwatch and now Marvel Rivals have. I don't know what it is. I cannot tell you what it is. I don't know if I know what that secret formula is. But when when was the first time you saw Marvel Rivals?
Probably about a month ago. I've heard of it. I heard people talk about it saying like, "Hey, I've been to the beta. This is a pretty fun game. This has something going on." But honestly, I generally didn't look much into it. I as soon as I saw it, I was like, "This is Overwatch, Marvel, whatever." I'll probably check it out when it comes out, but I just didn't look much into it.
So I probably first saw this 8 months, maybe a year ago. And my initial thought, and this was everybody's initial thought, was holy mobile game. And that's what
that's what I thought too, because it's NetEase, and NetEase
Yes.
is Chinese kind of mobile
So
game studio.
There's a whole other thing we can talk about with NetEase, the
Yeah.
guys that are actually developing this game, who are notorious for making free-to-play trash that they just destroy. They don't do anything with it. They're not a reliable company. So when I saw that, I said, "Oh, this looks awful." Then I watched people play the beta, and I said, "Okay, this doesn't look awful, but it doesn't look good." And you kind of get the sense when you're playing it, it's super weird to describe. If somebody comes and looks at Marvel Rivals right now, it's a mess to watch. There is so much graphics going on, just an unbelievable amount of lasers and effects and all this stuff happening at once. It is kind of a mess to watch, but when you're playing it, it doesn't feel like that. Like it doesn't feel like complete and utter chaos, even though it is.
Yeah.
And so when I initially saw the beta, I was like, ugh, okay, like this looks better, but it doesn't look good. Like this does not look like it's gonna at all compete with Overwatch. And by golly, it did. It somehow pulled it off.
That's exactly my thought too. Like when I saw this, I was just like I said, it was just it's Overwatch Marvel, and yeah, the graphics are kind of crazy because so Overwatch is made by Blizzard, and Blizzard's known to be very meticulous about their stuff. They craft a very tight game. Well, usually I should say, as a reason I guess that they've been slipping. But that's when you play Overwatch, it just feels tight. It feels smooth. The shooting feels good. And so Overwatch or Marvel Rivals here is third person as Overwatch is first person. And yeah, I kept seeing the same thing where I'm like, there's just so much going on. And I will say there is a little bit of jink to it because of that third person. You know, mine before we haven't even got a gamer pass on this yet. But my main character I mostly play is this Rocket Raccoon. He's very short. And there's a lot of times where I'm like, oh, my reticle's aiming this direction. But no, my character's height ends up hitting something in front of him and can kind of throw my shots off. So there's kind of a bit of a jink to it. But for whatever reason, I have been finding this game so incredibly fun.
Yeah, I think it's nailing a few things, and I'll even push back. There's a lot of conversation because this game is hot. Um, if you're watching your favorite streamer right now on Twitch or on YouTube, 8 out of 10 of them right now are playing Marvel Rivals, and it kind of overtook everything. And you might argue, well, hey, it's a hero shooter. Everybody kind of naturally gravitates towards hero shooters, which has already been disproven. And Overwatch has been in such a poor state that I think a lot of people have just kind of given up on hero shooters altogether. They were just kind of done with that whole concept. You can then make the argument, well, hey, it's because it's a bunch of it's a Marvel property. Well, yeah, but we've had some Marvel games come out here. We had that
Marvel Avengers was the last live service game that did awful.
Yeah, and that didn't do great. The Guardians of the Galaxy video game, everyone seemed to like that, but nobody played it. It did awful numbers wise, but it had really good reviews. So you can't even make that argument. And on top of it, there's a ton of characters in here that aren't necessarily known Marvel properties.
Yeah.
Obviously, Marvel is more known for the movies than they are for their comics at this point. Yeah. And in this case, who knows about a Squirrel Girl? Not a whole lot of people. So, it's fascinating to see this game come out of nowhere, initially look like a mobile game, and still somehow, some way find a massive audience. And it has found a gargantuan. I believe this last week, it had been well over a month at this point that the game has released. And it hit its peak concurrent on Steam. So it just continues to grow and grow. Usually where a game kind of spikes at the beginning and then kind of tails off, we haven't seen that with Rivals. It just continues to grow.
But let's finally get into this. So Aaron, is this a gamer pass for you?
This is a definite game. This is going to be a game I'm hooked on. So here's another kind of funny thing for me. In this last month and a half, 3 games came out that I was incredibly excited to play. And all 3 of them are a free-to-play replacement of something I already enjoyed. So I really wanted to play Path of Exile 2, which is a replacement to Diablo. I was really excited to play Delta Force, which is a replacement to Battlefield. I mean, almost a Chinese clone of Battlefield. And then Marvel Rivals, which was a free-to-play clone of Overwatch.
So no free-to-play yet to replace Call of Duty?
So not yet. So far, all 3 of those have been great, but Delta Force is not yet out on Xbox. It's supposed to be here in the next month or so. So I'm kind of excited for that because that'll be a free-to-play Battlefield. But Marvel Rivals has lived up to the hype so far. Of those 3, it's the most complete and it's the most addicting of it. So this is a definite game for me. This is going to be a game I am 100% going to be playing for a long time.
What about you, Keith? Is this a gamer pass?
I mean, it's Overwatch. I don't want to say reskinned Overwatch because it's different. So it's in so many ways. Obviously, it's different. It's third person. The flow is different. The heroes, the way they build them are different. There's a lot of different aspects, and again, we're going to talk about that. But on its at least shiny coat of paint, it's Overwatch for if you've played Overwatch. So it's definitely a game in that aspect. Like I've got, like, I don't say it negatively to say that it's Overwatch. It just it's the reason that I like it. It's the same reason that I like Vampire Survivors and that Brotato and every stupid clone of it, whether or not I like them, they're all gonna like I'm gonna have some enjoyment. And I'm gonna play them in all levels. But Marvel Rivals isn't just a crappy clone or reskin of Overwatch. Is what I was also saying too. So, you know, a lot of more meat to it than that. But just in its purest and simplest, I mean, it's Overwatch with Marvel heroes. It's a really cool concept and it's a lot of fun.
I forgot to ask you too, Keith. Is it Marvel like every other movie? Aren't Marvel movies like things you have never seen? Or did you actually finally get around to watching them?
They were for many years. I had seen the Iron Man movies early on. Like I actually watched those at their semi outset. And then I just stopped watching the Marvel movies. It was kind of the same. But then my oldest, he got into it and we wanted to watch all of them. So we actually watched them in the like chronological order because they'd all been released at that point. Yeah, I figured if I was going to do it and they were all available to watch that way, it'd be more fun to do. Nice. So yeah, we brought it up the like the calendar of them and like watched them all chronologically.
I think Disney Plus sets them up that way. Don't they have a chronological?
They do now. This was we started it like towards the beginning of COVID, and they hadn't like gotten all hip with it yet. So,
all right. Well, will also be a game for me. I don't know if I want to give a definite game because, like I said, there's moments of it where I'm like, there's things that kind of annoy me, some of the with the audio, and like I said, some of the fighting doesn't feel as tight as Overwatch, but I'm still having a very fun time at this game. So it is a game, but yeah. So I guess all of us are at least familiar with Marvel. I've at least read a handful of comics, and that's the other thing I want to ask: do you think this game also is so fun because it's Marvel heroes and you're aware of them, or do you think it's just at base a fun game?
I don't think the Marvel has anything to do with it. Truthfully, it probably helps a little bit. It probably at least gives people an entry point. But truthfully, for me, that was actually an initial deterrent. This is why I thought the game was going to just be a cheap cash grab, because you're grabbing Marvel and then you're just going to find a way to monetize the crap out of it and just not make a good game. You're just going to just put a lot of slop out there. So for me, it was actually a deterrent. That's where I did not have a lot of hope for this. I will say the art style and the care for the Marvel characters is shockingly well done. Like, shockingly well done. Like, it's even when you're looking at the skins for the characters, I love that it shows you when that skin first appeared. So in some senses, it says Marvel Rivals Season 0 or Season 1. And then others, it'll say it showed up in this movie or it showed up in this comic at this year. Like, there was one the other day that I pulled up and it was like, oh, it was in such and such 1985. And I was like, okay, that is very cool. Like, that is a very cool way of saying we'll take care and we'll actually use the material that's there and create things from the material that already exists. To me, that's a very smart thing to do. But truthfully, for me, if these weren't Marvel characters, I think I would have been initially more excited. But now that I know that they actually care for this thing and they've actually done a good job with it, and it's just genuinely fun to play. Yeah, okay, the Marvel thing actually kind of helps a little bit. Now it's kind of cool to see characters you've been watching for years actually taken care of in a video game.
See, I think I was fairly indifferent. I don't know. I don't think I was bothered by it, but I think like when I had jumped in, Aaron, you were saying like, who knows who Squirrel Girl is? Like, I'm sure plenty of people do. Like, she's well known, I'm sure, within Marvel, but like that's not a well known everyday name. Like, she hasn't shown up in any Marvel movies that I'm aware of, and I don't think your casual like me Marvel fan knows who she is, or tons of these characters are, or even some of them, like, because Marvel dips a lot into like Norse mythology and things like that. You're like, oh, I know that character from mythology, but I didn't realize they showed up in Marvel and like things like that. So I think it ends up being a really cool skin for it. But well, it wasn't a deterrent for me like Aaron. I think, yeah, I think I was kind of indifferent, but I'm finding it to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, so I love Marvel, and to me, it wasn't a hook for me either. But I fully agree with you, Aaron. Like there's a lot that's in this game that isn't shown. Like it took me a while. I didn't realize that you actually level up the heroes and you have a ranking for a hero that you play a lot of. But yeah, any hero you go to, it gives a full dialogue of who this character is, their backstory, and then even too, they're doing events. Currently, as we're recording this, is a Fantastic Four event of them being introduced. But there's essentially a whole comic book series of telling a whole story with it and what's going on. You don't have to do it, but it is just a fun war thing. So this is definitely a game that is catered to a lot of lore and comic book nerds who want to learn and understand and get more in depth with these characters. It's not necessary, but it's cool. And that's one thing I think does so well between this and Overwatch, because Overwatch kind of had a universe at first, but it just was slowly built upon, but it wasn't super in depth. Then they came out with a comic book, but I don't think I ever met anyone who read the comic book. Any snippets of lore I learned was just from online of the few people that read the comic book. So it was just kind of hard to kind of piece together what was going on in Overwatch. But in this, it's Marvel and it's just telling stories of the characters, which I really love that they actually spent the time to do it.
Well, I don't know, and I don't want to take away from the developers of the game by any means, but like Marvel is so like there's so much content to pull from that I don't want to say it's easy, because you obviously still have to do it delicately and you have to do it correctly, but at the same token, there's just vast amounts of contact. At this point, Blizzard is just scraping at the barrel to keep the story going. And again, for what reason other than to just still drive home that it's a hero shooter? Like that's the only purpose of the lore, is to just give some reason to keep adding new characters. Because if you don't at this point, I mean, even as someone who doesn't care about any of the lore, it would be kind of weird if all of a sudden they were just like, yeah, here's new characters and there's nothing about them. It would take away from the shine and like the whole presentation of how they do it, and it would just feel like they don't care about the game anymore. But they also could do it and I wouldn't care in the least at the same time. It's kind of a weird paradox.
Yeah. This again feels like a moment where they could have just really just created a cheap version of a hero shooter. They could have done that, but there just does seem to be a little bit of a attention to detail and care. Even things like when you go to the character screen, not when you're selecting a character, but just on that main page. I love when you hover over the character. So before you click on them, see their lore, see their abilities, all this stuff, how they pop out of the page and kind of move with your cursor and stuff. There's little things that are just like, what a cool little added element to this game. Just a weird level of care from NetEase of all people. It's really bizarre. I did not think this would happen.
Have they made any other games?
They've made a lot of free-to-play trash. A lot. That they're notorious for shuttering their games pretty quickly.
Which they've gotten sued before too for gross practices, haven't they?
Yeah. So they're a Chinese-based company. So good luck writing free Taiwan in your chat, because that will not show up if you do that.
Okay.
That is bannable dialogue.
It doesn't get you banned. It just doesn't show up.
That's true.
It just kind of blacks it out. So just something to think about. But yeah, it's shocking. Also, on top of it, so speaking of NetEase and their kind of slimy practices, another thing that is shockingly nice about this, I don't know if you guys knew this, the Battle Pass. You can just complete it whenever you want. It's doing the Halo setup where.
Oh, really?
Yep.
It doesn't expire?
No.
Okay.
They announced.
Okay, that makes me a little happier, because I was going to complain about the Battle Pass, because the Battle Pass. Okay, first complaint are the currencies in this game. There's like 3 different currencies, and it's not really explained. I'm getting purple coins, I'm getting blue coins, I'm getting gold coins, I'm getting weird trinkets. I'm like, what is all this stuff that's happening? And they don't really explain it. Come to find out, purple coins are for the battle pass. Blue coins are like semi-premium coins that you use to buy skins in the store, which you can actually earn pretty easily in game. And then the gold coins are straight up what you spend money on, and that can be converted into blue coins, or you can use the gold coins to buy the battle pass. So it's very convoluted at first, but after a while playing with it, I'm like, okay. But what I hated about the battle pass is you can only get the purple coins to purchase things on the battle pass when you do missions. You get 3 missions a day and like 6 a week or something like that. You get some your weeklies and your dailies. But once you're done, you can't earn anymore until they get refreshed. So I was just like, this is annoying. Like, this game is designed to just make me come every day. I don't want to do that. But now that you explained that it doesn't expire, I much more appreciate it. So
Yeah.
thank you for
It doesn't
that.
expire. So here's what I think is odd. I don't know how this will work. So I bought the season 0 battle pass, which was basically half of a battle pass because it was a shortened season before they got into season 1. All of the purple tokens that you earned for that battle pass doesn't go over to the other battle pass. But I was like, well, how does it track where the purple ones are supposed to go to? My guess is you can buy multiple battle passes and you just collect purple coins and you can use to purchase things in the battle pass. I'm guessing that's how it works. So I could choose whichever one I want to grab items from. So if I wanted to go to season 0 and use that one, can you guys even see season 0?
I don't know, because I didn't think about that. I didn't know.
I didn't dig too far for it.
So wait, did you buy the luxury pass?
Yes, I bought both.
Okay.
The first one was like $5 because it was just half of a battle pass. This one was like $10. I'll always get battle passes if I'm playing a game, just because it's like, well, it's just a new progression tier for me, so I'll do it. And if I like the game, it's worth $10 for me, so I'll do it. The skins are great in there too.
Yeah,
like all the skins are awesome. So it's like, all right, I'm happy to grab some of these. And since you're third person, you're actually seeing the skin on it, so it's like it's actually kind of worth it. But yeah, I'm just curious if you guys can see season 0 or you have to buy it during that season and then you can just kind of use it. But I had a bunch of excessive blue coins, but they were gone when season 1 started. So I had to start all over. So I got everything in the first in season 0.
Really, the blue coins is weird. The ones
not blue,
shop.
the purple.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Purple.
What did it say? I was like, oh, that's scummy.
No, so my guess is that you can have multiple ones open. I'm guessing that's how it works. I don't know because I completed the first one.
But yeah, I didn't buy the luxury battle pass, and I'm still earning the blue coins, which I can use to buy any skin in the store. But the skins are still pretty expensive. This is the one thing I always irritates with free-to-play games. If you want to buy a premium skin in a store, they're always like $20.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I cannot justify spending $20 for one skin on one character when there's like a roster of 40-something characters.
But the third person does help. I will say, I got to agree with that. That at least being able to actively see the skin that I'm buying,
yeah,
it does make it a lot better. And I think too, like, this isn't Call of Duty skins, right? This isn't, Captain America as Nicki Minaj.
Yeah.
Although I mean, that'd be kind of sick.
Fingers crossed.
And listen, the multiverse is infinite, right?
That's
so
in
point. Theory, there is a multiverse out there where Nicki Minaj is Captain America.
And we're talking about years and years of this game. At some point, it's gonna get stale for them, and they're gonna start looking for something. So.
Like, Call of Duty, you've done it. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, the fact that they're all skins that are pulled from sort of lore within Marvel, I think makes it a lot better, right?
Some are, some aren't. So, well, like for instance, I was looking at the Battle Pass and they had one for Rocket Raccoon, and you look at it and it says first appearance, Marvel Rivals Season 1. So some of it is invented for the game. So that's where, hey, you might get a Nicki Minaj someday. Because, money is money at the end of it. So that's why to me, Battle Passes were always kind of worth it because it's $10
yeah,
instead of 20, and it's a variety of skins. So you kind of get a little bit of everything in there if you just do the $10 for the battle pass. You do get some currency refunded to you. You do not get a full. I don't think you get enough for like a full battle pass in the next season. But you get a little something there back. So
I have to buy the battle pass to use the currency that I'm getting to unlock things in
I'm
the
assuming
battle
some of
pass.
those are free, right?
I didn't look at it at all.
In the
I
battle
mean, like
pass,
I was
there is the free battle pass. There's I think
okay.
2 skins that are free.
All right, yeah, I know, and usually I know there's not. I mean, the free battle pass exists, which is nice, but you know, it's usually pretty limited. Now, can you earn currency towards buying it with the free, or
No.
only with the?
Because
No,
I
you
think you
can't.
need gold currency. This
Yeah.
is a mess with the currency. This
I
is.
know. The gold currency. So if you buy the luxury battle pass, you will get 600 gold coins back. So it costs you 1,000, so $10 gold coins to buy the battle pass. You get 600 back. If you have the free battle pass, I think you get 200 gold coins for free. So you can do multiple seasons and eventually get a free battle pass, but you can eventually get one for free. Yes.
Okay.
I made sure I did all this homework beforehand because I am someone who always looks to hunt for a good deal.
See, I didn't even look at it. I just went
battle
straight.
pass math.
I went straight and bought it because I knew I was going to play it enough to earn it. Like I was going to get everything in there. So that's the other thing. So going back to kind of your original complaint, though. So the missions are the only way you really progress your battle pass, which on its surface, I kind of hate that because
Which once again is a very Halo Infinite thing.
Yeah, I kind of like just getting the XP that goes to a battle pass. Like I'm getting XP and it's also feeding into my battle pass. I prefer that. But at the same time, none of the challenges are like you're kind of just doing them.
Yeah.
I look at them.
I never looked at them, and I got all of them last night in one sitting.
That's sometimes you'll have one that's like spray, do 2 sprays, where I'm never gonna use my spray.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, so as soon as I'm in there, spray. All right, done. So sometimes I'll go and look at it and I'll see something like that. Every once in a while there's one about like health packs or something like that. But usually if I'm playing a healer, I'm healing myself in that process. I'm not really looking for health packs often, but even then I'm naturally going to hit 5. So I can't even complain about those because they're not hard, but yeah, I'm still technically on page 1 of the battle pass because you just can't earn enough to complete it that quickly. So yeah, kind of a bummer.
Would you be less annoyed? And I don't know if any battle passes do this even. If instead it was like, I don't know, split up into 18 weeks or whatever. I don't know what they normally are. I'm just going to say 18 weeks, but you could only unlock like a certain amount per week, but it was all XP based. So you'd basically kind of do the same thing, which, kind of max it out within the first 2 days, but have some progression you have to wait for, I guess.
Well, no. It's all kind of doing the same thing.
Like well, exactly. And I'm just saying, like, does it give a different feeling if it does it that way? Because like, I don't buy really any battle passes.
No, it wouldn't. To me, in my brain, both of those would feel about the same. Yeah. And again, I'm not necessarily bothered by this system because the missions are pretty simple. I would be a little annoyed if the missions really kind of forced me to have to play characters I didn't want to play.
Yeah.
And obviously you do have that in your like achievement section. There are like groupings of achievements in there and not like Game Pass or not Xbox achievements, but they're like in-game achievements.
Yeah.
So, a lot of them are team up ones. Like as Wolverine, team up with Storm and eliminate 3 people. And so some of those, like obviously I do have to play as this character. Somebody else has to play as that character, but that's not this. This is just, hey, do X amount of damage, do X amount of healing. And they're all pretty simple to get done in a match or 2. And I appreciate that. Like I'm not going to complain about that. Yes, it's a limiting system. It's a little less rewarding, but at least it's easy. It's not forcing me to do a bunch of stuff I don't want to do. especially in a game that requires team synergy. I hate when it's trying to force you into this thing that you're like, well, I can't play as a DPS right now because we've got 5 of them.
So I gotta say, that's something I love about this, and this is where if Overwatch and Marvel Rivals are walking down a road holding hands, they went in completely different directions. It's like Overwatch has like synergies where people are like, oh, you got to play these two together because you can combo these two skills in a good way. Are they built for that though? No. Marvel Rivals has built-in actual synergies where playing certain characters, like I think one of them I saw for Thor was if someone's playing as Hell, I just immediately gain plus 100 health. Like
Yep.
That is an immediate bonus to doing that, and I think that's just I love the idea of it, and it shakes things up, and I think I don't know. I like that there's, a meta. It kind of makes it a simple pattern, but I also think this kind of shakes it up a little bit, and it forces or opens the door, I guess, not forces, or rather than forces play.
Yeah, there was me and Andrew were just talking about this because we were actually just playing right before we got on here and recorded. And one of the things that I really love about this, there's a lot of things that I love about this, and like I said, there's things that I can't put my finger on as to why this game is great, but I do have at least one theory as to why this game's working. But I'll get to that in a second. One of the things that's really working right now, though, is the meta's kind of fluid. I have seen games where people run 3 supports, and you become crazy tanky. Like it becomes super hard for the other team to kill you, and you can pretty much stall them out with just 3 supports healing. Either 2 tanks and a DPS. Well, I won a game earlier today on that. It was 3 supports. I was the only DPS, and then there were 2 tanks, and we were down 1-0. We came back and won 2-1. So I like that. I've seen people do the 2-2-2. That was kind of the classic look. I've seen a lot of now just 1 tank, and you either go and add an extra to support or extra to DPS. I love that exists. And we clamored when we were Overwatch players, we clamored and begged to the heavens that they do a role queue, because I hated the fact that I had to constantly fight with people just picking characters I hated. And this is where I think this game gets it right. And I have no interest in doing a role queue. They're going to leave it up to freedom and you being able to kind of make your own choices.
Just very
But people are naturally clicking tanks, clicking healers, clicking DPS, and they're not all just going to one. I'll sometimes go in and I'm the last to pick, and I'm picking a DPS. That had never happened in Overwatch. When it was open queue, it never happened. But because they made all of the characters, actually all categories, feel pretty good, genuinely feel good to play. I think it's a huge, huge factor with this game right now.
Yeah. Because because anytime we played these types of games, even when I played like World of Warcraft, I always end up being a support because nobody would ever play them. And it's generally pretty hard to have a fun support. When I played World of Warcraft, it's usually just like hit 1, hit 2, hit 3, hit 1, hit 2, hit 1. Like you had this pattern of just healing people. Same with kind of Overwatch. Everyone always played Moira because she was a healer that also did damage. So people were like, this is fun. At least in this, every healer has damage, which is great. So you're not just sitting there throwing heals. Someone's attacking me. Let me run away somewhere. Okay, keep throwing heals. You're actually going to contribute to the team. Oh, your team's actually good on health right now? Cool, start shooting people. You can actually start participating in the fights. Like everyone actually has a good kit to them that makes them fun.
Well, and I wondered too, if it's this game's been out a month, so being in its infancy, you still have a little bit of the players are still trying to figure out what to play, and I know the internet is fast and they'll do all the numbers, but I'd like to think that partly again having all those different synergies kind of shakes up the ability to, or slows down the ability to really math out everything that's going on, but also I think like you said, the ability or the way that these characters are built, everything is playable, and I don't know, people aren't just picking one. There's, at least maybe it's just my lack of knowledge, but there's no characters that I think I outright hate, or if I see someone pick, I'm like, here we go, there's that one.
Just wait, there's a Hawkeye, which is very much a Hanzo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And
So
Widowmaker.
Why haven't I picked him yet?
So another cool thing about Marvel Rivals, and NetEase, I guess, probably needs credit for this as well. Every half season, so at the beginning of the season and halfway through the season, they update. They have a list on their website called the Hero Hot List. You can click platform. You can look at PC or console, quick play or competitive, and it breaks down the pick rate of that character and then their win rate on that character. So they just naturally give this stuff out. This was stuff that Blizzard would not do for Overwatch. But if you look through the win rate or the pick rate and the win rates there, I'm just looking at the win rate. The number one character for win rate. So you have the highest rate of winning the game if you pick them. Is a healer, a strategist. It's Mantis. Mantis has a 55.4 for a win rate. Which again, that is crazy because that is a healer that is the most successful to play. And that to me, and there's a diversity here. Like in the top 10, Hulk is there, Thor is there, Penny Parker's there, Hela and Magic are there, Black Panther's there. Like it's got a diversity of characters there. And I think that is just a massive win for the game because it just goes to show that people are picking these characters all over the place and they're having fun with those characters.
Yeah, because in Overwatch, it was you had to have a Reinhardt and you had to have a Mercy. Like, that was kind of the two people.
So this brings me to my initial theory. If I have one big theory, and I know that when we talked about the beginning of why is this game such a smashing success right now, where no other hero shooters really come close to really challenging Overwatch. Now, Overwatch 2 is in a really bad shape right now. It's really, really bad shape. And the reason why I think this is successful and Overwatch is suffering is Overwatch went really, really big into competitive, to like the esports.
Oh, yeah.
And what you have are now a bunch of characters that are fine-tuned. So to the point where it's frustrating to play because you specifically have to, as a casual person, even playing comp, you have to be perfect. You have to know exactly how to use this character at all times, and you really can't mess it up because if you mess it up, you will lose. Where Marvel Rivals is just like, hey, you just want to have fun and just feel pretty powerful no matter who you're playing, go ahead. Here you go. Yeah. And I think, truthfully, when I think about picking up Overwatch, it's exactly what I think. These are the meta characters. I literally cannot touch these other ones. Like I cannot. Either they're too challenging for me to play and I can't master them like the best people can, or they just don't work in this current setup. Like they're just too underpowered. And Marvel Rivals, I could pick any healer and I feel like I'd be pretty good. Like some of the damage dealers I'm just not really good with, but there's still a ton of them that I can play. I can play almost all of the tanks. Maybe Thor and Hulk are the only two that I'm like not great with, but the rest I am. And I feel like I have a ton of freedom. And that feels great. I think that's a huge point into why this game is having a lot of success right now.
Well, I mean, that's a good point because I haven't played all of the characters. I haven't probably come close out, to be honest. I ended up playing mostly Thor. So it's funny that you said that because I thought he was a lot of fun. But I didn't feel like, even though I was picking Thor, I was like, I don't know. I really want to pick other characters. And I wasn't because the Overwatch in me like wouldn't let me to a certain degree. But there's so many different characters. I'm like, I think I could play those characters. Like looking at them and like watching people play them, no one seems all that crazy difficult to play. Yeah. But one thing that back on these Overwatch paths, like they just went even further. When they talk about a different difficulty on a character, the actual buttons vary character to character. Like to a certain degree, Overwatch has that. Like it's like a fine variation of like maybe they don't have a third actual active skill or something like that. But there's full on like combos you have to figure out for Captain America in terms of like when to put up his shield, then the run, then the jump, then the land. And that's just one example. And so it's kind of all over the place. But I think that it's kind of cool because it adds skills in different ways than just being like twitchy good. You have to have like some combos added into it in some characters.
See, it gets kind of frustrating with me because even characters that keep playing, like when you play Overwatch, usually you have like, your shoots right trigger. You usually have like an alternate fire with left trigger, but usually like your right bumper is your utility escape. Your left bumper is like your active like damage ability. And like so if I picked up any character in Overwatch, I could be like, oh, that's going to be kind of the controller layout. In this, as Keith said, it is kind of all over the place, which is kind of irritating. But the game does give you a good amount of options with customizing. I didn't say we could customize per character, but it does throw me off sometimes. Like I play a good amount with Venom, and his escape's like left bumper instead, and it kind of throws me off sometimes when I do some of my moves.
He specifically kind of catches me because I play Captain America more than I play Venom, and Captain America's slam is right trigger, but Venom's is X. So every time I swing around with Venom and I'm ready to slam into the ground, I always hit trigger. And he just falls to the ground. I'm like, what the heck, man? I was like, oh yeah, it's X. So yeah, some of those. But I think naturally you kind of gravitate towards like both Venom and Captain America are really rush tanks. So you kind of, in my mind, I kind of just pick one that I really like. And for me, I really like Captain America. So I don't really touch Venom all that often. I think Captain America causes more chaos. So he's actually a little bit more fun. But I think naturally what you'll end up doing is you'll probably gravitate towards a handful of characters that you'll really like. And you'll just kind of stick with those. But another thing that's crazy is these guys want to release 2 characters every 3 months.
Yeah. 1.2 months, I think they said.
Yeah, it's something insane. Like and already people have found leaks on the list of characters coming, which is just everybody. I mean, it always cracks me up when people are like,
again, how long is the list of Marvel characters, right?
I know. They're like, can you believe Professor X is coming? Yeah. Like, why wouldn't he? Like, literally, I would think anybody's up for showing up at this point. Like, why is this like, can you believe this character's coming? Yes. There was one, I was like scrolling through Twitter and somebody was like, it is confirmed. Cyclops is coming to the game. And it's like, okay. Like
I didn't even read that.
I was like, why is this like, yeah, just assume if they're in Marvel, there's a chance they're going to be showing up, especially because here's season 1 and we've got 4 characters that will release this season. So we've already had 2. And then on the back half, you'll have the Thing and Human Torch. Yeah. So, just assume everybody's showing up here. Like at some point, if this game's going to be around for a few years, you're going to have the entire Marvel cast in this thing at some point for sure.
Yeah.
So I assume the Thing will be a support character.
Good guess though.
A little funny joke I did there.
If there is, all right, I do another kind of minor gripe though that I do have right now. They do need to. This was an Overwatch issue too. They need to balance out how many healers, how many tanks, how many damage dealers you've got.
There's only 9 healers right now. And
I get it. Like when they're all superheroes, they're all gonna kind of feel like they're damage dealers. Like I kind of understand that, and it's principle, but they need to find ways to kind of continue to separate these things. I think what's his name from the Fantastic Four that they just released? Mr. Fantastic. Good. Yeah, I knew that. They probably should put him as a tank.
I thought he was gonna be a tank.
It kind of looks like that's where they were leaning, and he's kind of a little bit of a hybrid because you'll notice when you're fighting him, he has a lot of sustain. He kind of lasts a long time. But they probably should have done that. They probably should have had 2 tanks, a healer, and a damage dealer. Like I think that would have been a little bit of a smarter layout here. But we'll see how this thing plays out. We're so early. It's just season one.
I was kind of surprised on who they had for some of the healers though. Like Rocket Raccoon was not one that I thought was going to be like a healer, or
it's a clever implementation of it though.
Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing with
Like,
it. I'm just that's what I'm saying.
Works.
It was kind of interesting. It was him, and who was the other one that I thought was surprising?
Loki.
Yeah, Loki. But again, kind of makes sense. Like I can see it, but I didn't expect to see Loki there. I would have expected him as a damage dealer.
And see, I was thinking this the other day because I was like, well, if they were to rebuild this game, who should they have moved? Like, who would have made sense as a healer? Like, I was looking through the damage dealers, and I was like, man, I don't know. But then I was like thinking of Rocket Raccoon, and I was like, well, heck, I mean, they made it work with Rocket Raccoon, who's not a character that seems like he'd be much of a healer. But you're like, oh yeah, he would have the gadgets though. Yeah, and the gadgets would make that work.
Because that's the thing, you're not a healer, you're a strategist.
Well, I guess that makes sense.
I hate that.
It's like when they changed it to support instead of healer.
Yeah, Marvel, you're never gonna get me on this. I'm not calling them duelist, vanguards, and strategists. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to rewrite my brain after like a decade of playing these games to fit this system. Okay, they're tanks, they're DPS, and they're healers. I'm not changing.
Yeah, it can be hard to rewrite your brain sometimes, but especially too here in January, I bet a lot of you have a New Year resolutions, and you're probably having a hard time getting started out of it. But I want to take a quick moment to tell you about our wonderful product that we've been taking, Magic Mind. Go to magicmind.com/bagjan and get a exclusive bundle only for the month of January. So if you are struggling on your New Year's resolutions, make sure you check this product out. They give you 15 supplies of their mental performance shot and a 15 supply of their sleep performance shot. So you can take the mental performance, help sharpen your mind, calm your energy, and help focus on your to-do list. And come at the end of the day, it's always very important that you get your proper sleep. So you can take the sleep performance shot, which helps you fall asleep faster, get better sleep, and wake up more refreshed. But it's very important, especially now this new year, that you invest in your mental wealth. Make sure that you focus on yourself and help get yourself going. And finally, this be the year that you finally get to do your New Year's resolution. Because I know I always suck at it, but ever since I've been taking Magic Mind, it's helped me so much more taking care of my to-do list and getting things done. I've been a great fan of this product. It has helped me focus, especially I mostly use it at work, and it has been helping me so much more to actually just get my job done and just focus on things I need to do. So thank you so much, Magic Mind, for introducing me to this wonderful product. Don't just take my word for it. Magic Mind offers a 100% refund for the first 100 days. So if you don't like it, you can always return it. And they offer it shipping to 65 countries. So if you're an international listener, it's more than likely available for you. So make sure you go to magicmind.com/BAGJAN. It's magicmind/bagjan. But yeah. So I wanted to ask you guys, so what's your favorite heroes? So we've now obviously been playing quite a bit. I gotta say, I already said at the beginning, my favorite's been Rocket Raccoon. Because I've always liked, like, Guardians of the Galaxy has always been my favorite movie. I enjoyed the comics. I've always loved that series. So then when I saw Rocket Raccoon, I was like, all right, and he's a healer. I was like, cool, this is going to be great. He's such an easy kit, but anytime I've ever seen other Rocket Raccoons, they're not good. I love him, though, because his heal's great. He has a fantastic escape, and he has a revive, a no-brain revive. You just throw it down, and it gets somebody up. He's easily my favorite. I have the highest win ratio with him, too. And then, of course, my second actually is Groot. I didn't even mean for that to happen. It's just anytime I played a tank, I was like, I don't know, I'll check him out. But his damage is awesome. So I've really been enjoying Groot as a tank.
Yeah, my first love in the game was Luna Snow. And I feel like I discovered her before everyone else really kind of picked up on her. She does great damage. Her piercing shot is incredible. Being able to put a snowflake on a Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's running around. Like
Moon Knight, yeah, somebody that's always out of line of sight, always way extended. And being able to heal them from that distance was massive for me. That was my absolute first love. On the tanks, it's Strange and Magneto. I like the shield tanks. Those are my boys. And if I'm going DPS right now, I am absolutely dominating with Namor.
They're gonna say Squirrel Girl.
The Squirrel Girl as well. Both of them are shockingly really, really good. But Namor, the other day I did a 60 kill game with Namor. And then earlier before you jumped on, I did a 40 kill game with Namor. So
I've never heard anyone pronounce it that way. Everyone pronounce it Namor.
So that's how they pronounce it in the game, buddy. Okay. And that's how they pronounce it in Black Panther.
Well, we'll get to the audio.
Okay. So his name is Namor. So right now, if I'm playing DPS, gosh, he's just so good. That his shot, just if you get a headshot, it's like 50% of the health gone on so many characters. So he's huge. Love him.
See, I can't do headshots. I mean, I guess I probably hit some, but accuracy's never, accuracy's never been my strong suit. So I don't rely on characters that go with heavy accuracy. I was loving my Thor play. I was having a lot of fun with him. He's a divey tank too. Like he can just jump into a fight, and if they're all grouped up, he can really do some massive damage. But he's a lot of fun. I was liking Cloak and Dagger. She's a little bit, or she and he. They are. There's two of them. So.
Yeah.
But anyways,
thank you for clarifying. Thank you.
I don't know.
Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah, there's good point. I don't know, but Cloak and Dagger is a lot like Mora. It's like a slower switch, but they make it much more fun to play. And I think that's another thing, like where I really appreciate about this. Like there's so many of these hero shooters. What was the other one we really liked?
Top Paladins?
Paladins. That one was like almost directly rip off of Overwatch characters. Like there's characters you're like, oh, this is like legitimately Overwatch. I can't do that with really any of these characters. Like there's some that are kind of close, but overall they're 100% different to play in every single way. And so as much as I can say that it's a close comparison, it's still so wildly different, and it just makes it a lot of fun to play. But then Aaron said Squirrel Girl, so I was playing Squirrel Girl a little bit, and she's definitely a lot of fun. It's especially if you have like a dumb team, which playing in these bronze levels, I definitely get some of that. And
everybody
they just
funnels into a group and just herds right at you. You're like,
like I don't really have to try. I'm just gonna just sit here and just throw grenades into this section and win.
Her stun is her best move, though.
Yeah.
Because when you get them stunned and you just pop them a couple times, it's like, oh, it's the best. That is just when they're just in a group and you just throw that giant nut at them. You're like, okay, this is gonna be easy.
I know every hero shooter, like obviously like read the tooltips or the descriptions on the characters, but they do like this one's so important. Like I said again, because everyone is so wildly different and has all these varying levels of skills. But I think you pointed out, Andrew, I don't know if it's on the main menu or wherever, but they give you like built-in videos and like how to use the skill as well, right? Yeah. So it's like it's important to read it because they actually show you how to use it too, not just like, hey, here's a description of it. Go figure it out now.
Yeah, which Overwatch did too. Well, Overwatch didn't have the suggested combos. That's what I mostly like because all these heroes have a star rating for difficulty, 1 for easiest, 5 being the hardest. And so some of them just like, man, how do you do this? And you look at the suggested combo, it's like, oh, do this ability to get into there, to activate this, which then can do this to reduce damage and do this. And it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. And it's impressive. Yeah, because this roster is huge. I will say this is the thing that first turned me off is because whenever you get into a hero shooter or a MOBA, anything with a lot of characters, as a newcomer, it's just a lot. People are shouting, things are exploding, and you're like, what hit me? What killed me? I don't get what's going on. And this game did suffer with that at first. When I first was playing this, I really wasn't digging it because of that. But obviously, if I put the time into it, I feel like I could pick up and kind of get it and get going and understand what to avoid and what to seek. But it's daunting at first. Because it's not like, because a lot of these people, yeah, if you watch the movies, you can get an idea. Thor, he has a hammer. He's probably runs around bash people with. But then you get someone like Magic, and you're like, oh, and she's a girl with a sword, okay. But then she's shooting teleports everywhere and jumping around, and you're like, what is this? So this game can be super daunting at first. But I'm also curious. So you're saying a lot of these heroes are different from Overwatch, but the thing that is straight up Overwatch is the lack of variety for maps and gameplay. Do you think that hurts this game at all? Because it was kind of disappointing to be like, okay, I push a payload, okay, I capture a point, and that's it. And like that's what I heard a lot of people complain about with Concord. They're like, this game is fine, but it adds nothing new. And that's why I'm surprised with this. It doesn't really add much new besides new heroes.
I think more so it adds new in, or what it doesn't do well is map rotation. At least not in quick play. I don't know if it's better. I didn't play enough comp to know if it gets better there, but we would play the same map like 3 times in a row, and sometimes like on attack 2 times in a row. And you're like, I don't want to do this again and again and again. So I think it suffers in that way. But that's something it's hard because I think Overwatch dropped with what, like 10, 12 maps or something, if I remember.
I don't remember,
man.
But all that to say,
half those maps are gone now in Overwatch.
Well, and that's why it's hard to say too. But I guess where I'm going with that is that, maybe I'm trying to give it a little bit of grace in having a fewer map count with it, because the modes are like, so you have the capture and then transport. That's straight up the same. I guess it's more the
Overwatch had 12.
Okay. But was there any like modes that weren't in Overwatch?
Okay. So Overwatch did have another mode that sucks so bad people stopped doing it. Do you remember?
And I'm kind of bummed about that. Well, I mean, I guess I'm going to play Overwatch. Maps. But yeah, I know the like Temple of Anubis and stuff like that.
Yes. So you capture the first point, and usually the attacking team has the closer spawn for the first point. After you capture it, you then go to the second control point, which the defense typically has the closer spawn point there. So that was a mode they got rid of in Overwatch 2. So I'm personally okay with these game modes. Maybe because they're just familiar to me and I like them. I would venture a guess that as time goes on, they will likely evolve some of these game modes and come up with some new modes. Obviously, Overwatch has the tug of war now, which is fine. I don't hate or dislike them. I don't think they're much more different than just kind of the payload modes personally.
But here's the thing though, right? Like with every passing Call of Duty or any first person shooter like Call of Duty, no one's clamoring for like, oh, they didn't reinvent team deathmatch or they didn't reinvent capture the flag. Like, why does a hero shooter have to do that? Why can't these just be?
Battle royales are dying now, Keith, because no one's.
But that's the same thing. Even with battle royales, like there was none that were really like, oh, we've turned battle royales on their head. It was just kind of like, which one did you like the most?
There's maybe 2 trains of thought here though, because there are people that complain about that in Overwatch. However, in Call of Duty. However, those are typically casual players. Casual players kind of like a diversity of modes. And competitive modes, those have been pretty much the standard for years. So in the CDL, the Call of Duty League, that plays the same types of modes. So to me, on this surface, even if you're playing quick match here, it's a competitive game. So you kind of need to have a winner and loser set up there. And I'm and that's where I'm just kind of like comfortable with where it's at, because it's something I know how to do. We've been doing this since 2016. But my guess is you come back here in 2 to 3 years, you're going to probably have an additional 2 or 3 modes in this game by then.
All right, but we need to move along because we've already been going a long time. I want to talk about my real complaint, and that is the audio. This game has so much chatter that it gets really annoying. I looked at the options, and there is ways to turn down some of this stuff, but I don't think I can like completely turn it off. Because oh man, so I play a lot of Raccoon. He says like 3 lines over and over again. You know, I'm flarking helpful and don't mind me, I'm dying over here. I hear that a dozen times each match. What's also very annoying is when I'm healing people, the people I'm healing are telling me I'm healing them. And I'm like, I don't need that audio cue. Thanks for the heals. I don't need heals. I'm so good. And it's just like, okay, you can stop talking to me so much. I get it. I do like, though, the audio is very clear with the alts, which is very helpful because some of these alts are really crazy, like Scarlet Witches, which we were talking about earlier, or like Jeff the Shark, you know, he's going under, but you can't really see him, which is annoying. But I at least like the audio of the important stuff, which is very clear. But also, too, the voice acting is kind of all over the place with me.
I don't know. I think the voice acting is pretty good.
It took me the longest time to figure out what Scarlet Witch was saying. It's just what I kept hearing. No, and same with Star-Lord.
I'm gonna put that on you. Those have never not been clear to me. Never, not once. And like the other day, you were like, "Wait, is she saying pure chaos?" And I'm like, "Yeah." How did you not know that? I've heard that clearly every single time. And you were like, Star-Lord says legendary.
And you're like, it sounds like legendary.
No, there's clearly an R in there. He clearly says legendary. And even when you said that, I listened to it like, does it? And I was like, no, I hear the airy at the end. What is he talking about? I'm thinking this is more on you. Because I have never once been like, what was that line? What? What were they saying? I will agree with you. There is a lot of chatter.
Yes.
And there's probably a decent amount of chatter at Overwatch that I've probably just drowned out through the years. But I think you actually brought up a pretty decent point. I think there's a lot of chatter for things that doesn't need to be chatter. Like I get my character maybe saying a thing here and there, but people letting you know that you've healed them is a pointless cue. Yeah. Like I don't ever need that cue. I can see their health. Yeah. I am aiming at them. I am actively healing them.
Somebody always makes a comment whenever they killed Namor's squid. That's sushi today. That's fish food every time. And I'm like, I killed the spider nest. It's like,
I'm sure the thinking is, so they've got the voice acting cast is all a who's who in voice acting in video games right now. So they did not spare on that. They got everybody. In fact, some of them I think were original voices from cartoons that they brought back. Really? So I want to say the Spider-Man had previously voiced Spider-Man before.
Yuri Lowenthal.
Troy Baker's in here.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, like I said, it's a who's who on the voice cast. So that's like, I don't think the voice cast is back. I think what they were trying to do is instill a lot of charm, but it might be overkill.
He was the voice of Spider-Man in the Spider-Man Sony games, so Spider-Man 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
So so the cast, the voice cast is a legit cast.
I think one of the best things though that they could add if it would be doable, and it's funny because I think I went years without noticing this. It was you, Aaron, who had pointed it out, was that in Overwatch having, like, if you had a diva on your team and an enemy diva, the voice line for the enemy diva and the friendly diva casting an ult were different. And it's not in Marvel Rivals. So if you have 2 Penny Parkers, you just hear it's spider time and hope it's our spider time. Yeah. So I would appreciate if they could just add that. But otherwise, no, I do like some of the intro lines. Like Overwatch does this, you said the banter between the characters. There was one with, I think it was Tony Stark or Captain America or Iron Man and Penny Parker, something about who had a better suit and something like that. So I don't know, that stuff's kind of cool. And I think that's where, like you said, I agree with you, Aaron, where it's, a little bit of charm of having some fun Marvel interactions like that. But there's also a lot of just yelling all the time, everybody.
You were not kidding, Aaron.
Yeah.
This voice cast is impressive.
It's literally like everybody in gaming voice acting is on this game. It's crazy.
Yeah, Troy Baker, Nolan North, Fred Taskiori, Josh Keaton, who does Iron Man. Yeah, did Iron Man in the previous one. He also did Captain America in the X-Men '97 TV series. Yep. And the girl who plays Magic, Abby Trott, is a voice actress for Momo in Dan, which is I've been loving that show. That's been one of my favorite animes right now. Yeah, these people all have a pretty huge pedigree in voice acting.
Yeah. So this is why I don't want to take a shot at the voice acting. I actually think the voice acting is very good. There's maybe a little bit too many cues.
The implementation.
Yeah.
Of it.
Yeah. But graphically though, I gotta say I love the designs of the characters. I think the level designs is probably the weakest. So this game, the big thing with the level design too is there's destructible environment, which it's been okay. It's kind of cool. It's not the level of, old school Battlefield, but there has been a handful of times where I was able to pop a hole and just kind of give me cover and just keep blasting holes through it, like my healing orbs with Rocket. But I mean, it's at least a nice change of pace of having at least some destructibility. I would like to see them implemented a little bit better. But oh my gosh, I know we're already talking too much, but what I do love about this game, with the map design, I don't think the map design's crazy good. You usually just have a couple lanes, but if you've played Overwatch, you could have a dozen lanes. Everyone just goes down the middle. That's unless you're in a coordinated team, you're going down the middle. But with implementations of some of these characters, specifically Doctor Strange, of being able to create a backdoor anywhere is really cool. But I will say, to me, the overall though, getting back to my point, I think the graphics are fine in this game. I like the character design, and as you said, Aaron, the skins and costumes they have coming out, inspired by real comic book stuff, is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think at worst, there's a couple of times where I felt like there'd be like breaks in the graphics, like in terms of, I don't know if tearing's the right word, but like,
oh yeah,
like there are certain points where the graphics have issues, I noticed, but it was nothing that ever impacted the gameplay. And then overall, there's a weird, like, it's not cell shading, but like there's something weird about the coloring to things at some point that feel like comic book-ish, but it's also still very real life-ish. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I feel like there's like a weird kind of hybrid that's kind of cool to it, and I like the overall vibe that they give to it.
But yeah, let's get into the achievements. The achievements are actually pretty awesome in this game. They it's very similar to Overwatch, where there's a lot of hero specific achievements, which the ones in Overwatch, I remember some of them were like stupid impossible. I still remember the one of when you play as, gosh, it's been a while since I played it.
There's the Lucio one.
Lucio,
thank you. People off in one wall, right?
Yes, that's what I was thinking of. Like, so stinking hard to do that achievement unless you were purposely cheesing it. But yeah, like stuff like that was so hard. And this, all of them looks super doable. A lot of them are just actually progression. Like Aaron was saying, play Wolverine and I think team up with like Magneto and kill 10 mutants or something like that. Like there's a handful that are just progressions. Like, oh, whenever you team up with this person, kill so many people. There are a couple that were a little bit harder. As Squirrel Girl get 3 KOs with her ultimate. I actually did that, I think, the second time I played Squirrel Girl. So it wasn't that hard. Because once again, everyone just goes down the center lane through my ult, and there we go. But yeah, the achievements are all very obtainable, and they're fun. They're like I don't think there's really much you have to look for, but just about the beginning roster, I think there might be a few exceptions, but just about everyone has an achievement you can unlock. But then there's of course in-game achievements, as Aaron mentioned, which also give you some extra battle pass currency, which is nice. But yeah, achievements are good. So let's get our final thoughts, since this has been a pretty hefty episode now. I'll go first on this. So Marvel Rivals, like I said, when I first played this, I didn't look much into this game when it first came out. I didn't have much preconceptions, just Marvel, Overwatch, cool. But as I started seeing stuff on it, and it was like, oh, its final release is coming out, I was like, I'll check it out. At first, it was very daunting. I forgot to mention, the user interface in this game is also not very good. There's a lot of, animations and explosions going on, which is cool at first, but it does repeat it a lot. But it does add a kind of cool flavor to it. But when you're picking a hero, as we kind of said, it's Vanguard, Duelist. Who thought of this design? Come on, just give me a shield, a sword, and a plus healing mark. Come on. So the user interface to me isn't great in this game. So it can be very daunting at first. But if you give it some time, this game is a lot of fun. I hated playing Overwatch solo. I've actually been enjoying my time playing Marvel Rivals solo. I think it's just the fact that it's 6v6. There is so much more variety to the meta. Every hero is just fun to play. I don't feel bad that I'm like, crap, I have to go as the healer. I have to go as the tank. I may not be good at the certain roles, but I can do it. And I can find somebody that is fun and I enjoy playing. And surprisingly, this game isn't gross with its monetization. I'm giving it a 90. I think it's a lot of fun. I hate the audio.
This is a game I'm going to be hooked on for a long time. This is just my type of game that's just easy to pick up. I'm going to like grinding rank and basically being stuck in gold forever. But that's just going to be the way it is. And I'm going to love it the whole way through. So I'm in it for the long haul. I'm going to go one above. I'm going to go 91.
I had the same preconceptions as Andrew. I don't know. I saw Marvel. I saw Overwatch. I said this could be kind of cool. I'll check it out. And then obviously episode here, so check it out more. But I initially I kind of just went, oh, okay, this was kind of fun. But as I dove into more characters, I found it really cool. Just a really one-off, but just a huge difference. At least if you haven't played this and you're looking at it from the Overwatch, you carry over your skill, like your skills. So if you have your skill ready, your ultimate ready, you get it for the second round. It's just a weird thing. I don't know. But I thought that was cool. There's just so many little things about it that you're like, oh, this isn't Overwatch. Like I know what I'm doing because of Overwatch, but it's so much different. And it doesn't just hang on the Marvel aspect. And I think that that's what I can appreciate the most about it, is that they weren't just like, hey, it's Marvel, you're going to love it. They actually put some good thought into the gameplay and the design behind it. And I think that that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I want to say 92 just to, I don't know, but no, but I'm going to say 90. I think 90 is good.
All right. So there it is. Overall, I guess really liked Marvel Rivals. So thank you all so much for joining us. Please make sure you go to our link tree. The link will be in the description. Come join us on our YouTube, or Facebook. We live record just about every Wednesday. We're usually around 8:30 EST, but our times kind of flux a little bit. But come join us, say hi, join our Discord. Me and Keith are pretty actively on there. Love getting feedback, live feedback from people, especially for some upcoming games that we possibly don't record or do. So thank you all to our wonderful Discord members. We love talking to you all. Thank you all so much to our wonderful Patreon members who keep us going. You guys have been a huge support and big help. Thank you again, Aaron, for joining us. But I've been your Hardcore Gamer Stand. You can find me on Xbox Live, Firebird0952. But yeah, Aaron, thanks for joining us again. You've been a big help with this podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I've been Keith, and I showed up. I made it.
Yeah, a little late, but you were here. All right, everyone. We love you all. We'll see you again next week.
See ya.
Bye. I still instinctively go to end my recording, and we've been on Riverside for how long now?
Yeah. All right. So